Welcome back to the On the Pony Express podcast. Really excited to be joined by SMU offensive line coach Garin Justice. Thanks so much for
Yeah,
the time.
of course.
Getting you out of the heat from summer workouts.
Yeah, anytime.
We could sit down with you for at least an hour because, one, you have so many guys.
Yeah.
So many new faces, returning guys, all of the things. Your group has got to be one of those groups that this coaching staff feels really excited about. You know, with who you've brought in, who you have returning. It's just in a really good place from what it seems like.
Yeah, we think so. I mean, you're always hesitant to say that because you get 3 injuries and now you're tested right away. We're really optimistic about what we have in the room. We feel like 2 years ago we started to kind of establish of getting a quality room, and then move forward. Last year we felt like we continued to change our physical status and the way we were operating, and I think this year is no different. In the past, it was been a 290-pound guy who was athletic was a good guy to have in the room. Now you start talking about the P.J. Williams and Addison Nicholls and Logan Parr. Those guys are all 320-pound plus and carry it really well, and so mass moves mass. Like big people hurt smaller people or move smaller people, and I think we're getting to the point where we have big people who are also really athletic, and we're starting to get it in more than just 3 or 4 guys. We have close to a 2 deep of guys that are big and physical and can move like that.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin with breaking down this group, but I do want to start with PJ and then kind of lead into a guy like Andrew Chambley, but PJ's development and what he did in the spring, I mean, that might have been one of the more individually impressive springs that I've seen.
Yeah.
Not only just from offensive line, but I mean, right up there with like what an Elijah Roberts would do to guys at times. I mean, he was just that good.
Yeah, he was. There's a little bit of with PJ. I think we got to make sure we keep him stimulated because some boredom could set in from that standpoint because he is having that much success. And it's been a cool journey for him. From 2 years ago, he was a guy that, and it's talking about the value of playing multiple guys. Like we saw that talent and ability in PJ, but just mentally he wasn't there yet, and we slowly eased him along, and it allowed him to have a really good year last year. And PJ's fully looking at this year like he's trying to go out and be the most dominant offensive lineman in the ACC, and that's the way he's approaching it. And I hope he does, because it'll be good for the Mustangs, and it's just the whole PJ story of just getting him from A&M to where he is at now. Like, man, just so proud of him and to see his family and all those things. It's a really cool journey, and I'm excited for this year with him.
And his story, I mean, not talked about enough. I would say just how he came in here and embraced being at SMU, embraced all the things. It seemed like, at least from the outside, that you guys threw his way.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys hope to use that in recruiting or this or that, but like just pure success of development.
And really, I mean, it's as in the transfer portal and NIL and the things that we've had to live with as far as college sports the last couple of years. He's had plenty of opportunities to leave. People try to poach him, and PJ, to his credit, has, at his lowest, we were one of the few schools that took a chance on him, and he respects that and he honors that, and he's been really, really loyal to that process. And he knows that he could have hopped in the portal and got more money and do all those things, but he also knows he's in a really good situation, and he's with people who care about him and people who had his back when he was in a really bad spot. So it's been cool from both sides of it. We've helped him out and he's helped us out, and it's been a really, really good relationship.
What's it like with Andrew Chambley, right there, right now? It seems like at that right tackle spot, just the work he's done to, develop, and he had that injury that really held him back just from a early standpoint. It seemed like last year, those big guys really get, those type of injuries.
Yeah, speaking of Chambley, I think gives us the flexibility now to where you talk about a PJ, and when PJ plays in the NFL, he may be a guard. And we've experimented and played with bumping PJ in a guard and putting Chambley at tackle. more so from standpoint of the progression that Andrew's made. We feel like PJ could play wherever and be one of the best linemen we have. But Chambley's a guy who, at times, it's been hard for him to gain weight. It's been hard for him to put on strength and do those things. And we've challenged him in January. It's like, hey, if you have talent, you have ability, you have size, you have length, you have all those things. If you want to take the steps that you want to take to put yourself where you want to be, you have to gain that weight. You have to get the strength. And now I think he's up to 308. His strength numbers are going up. I think he was squatting over 400 pounds for reps the other day in the weight room. So he's finally put himself physically in a position to where now he's not going to get overpowered or manhandled on a couple blocks. He can anchor in and do those type things. So we're really excited about where he's at. And he's a guy that is going to really push, if not be one of the starters that we have this year.
Addison Nicholls comes in and just seems like that center spot, or, maybe guard wherever, but center's where we saw him a lot this spring. Is all settled and taken care of with the Eagle Scout running the show.
Oh yeah, Addison's done a really good job from a standpoint of he's transferred in, he's new, but he's done a really, really nice job as far as trying to take a leadership role within the room. I think everyone kind of honors and looks at Logan Parr as kind of the I guess the grandpa or the old man in the room that's kind of the leader, but Addison's been really, really vocal as far as trying to bring guys together and do some things where he's empowered himself to go do that. But yeah, Addison, you talk about physicality. I mean, that's a guy you don't see many interior offensive linemen who are 6'5", 330 pounds and can move and do the things he does. And he's a well-rounded guy. I mean, as far as he's a true student athlete, really, really good in the community, really good football player. So we're excited about what this season's going to look like for Addison.
If you're a Texas contractor and your insurance guy doesn't speak your language, fire him. We specialize in Spanish-speaking tradesmen. Call today and we'll review your current policy for free. No pressure, just straight answers. You've seen the guy that's your bro. That's us. And just like I protected my grandfather from the sun, we protect you from life's challenges. I'm Mark Villasana, owner and agency principal with Northwest Insurance.
I actually heard about NW agencies through a friend of mine who's been using them for years. Honestly, I've been really impressed. They made the whole process so much simpler than I expected. I was always used to dealing with a lot of back and forth, but with NW it was straightforward, and I always felt like they had my best interests at heart.
We're a full-service independent agency. That means we don't work for a single carrier, we work for you. We've got access to over 100 carriers, so whether you're insuring your home, your truck, or your electrical business, we'll find the coverage that fits your needs and your budget.
It's been a game changer, really. I used to worry a lot about getting the right coverage, especially with my business and home, but now I feel much more confident. They helped me understand my options and made sure I had the right policy for both my business and personal needs.
We specialize in helping hardworking folks, contractors, tradesmen, laborers, the people who keep Texas running. Whether you're a framer in Floresville, a roofer in Seguin, or a plumber in San Antonio, we'll walk you through the process in plain English or Espanol.
We'll pour you a cup of coffee, talk you through your policy, and make sure you leave with more protection and more peace of mind than you came in with.
This is Northwest Insurance. We've got you covered.
Northwest Insurance.
You mentioned Logan Parr, and like you said, the kind of elder statesman of the room. It seems like what's his journey been like? Because kind of again a player that leaving his prior stop was in a bad place probably with the game of football, at least from what he's told us. And now he was the highest rated player on the game. Last year, of course,
You know what, Logan, as a coach, it's always the easiest when your best players do the most things the right way. And everyone in the room knows that Logan's one of our best players. So you're looking at a guy who's got 3 degrees now. He does everything the right way. He's a model citizen. He's really good on the field. It's hard for some of those guys who are not playing as much or not as talented to act any different because of that, because that's the way Logan acts. It's like, hey, Logan Parr does all the things the right way. He's one of the best players we have. He's one of the guys who probably could get away with some stuff, and he doesn't. So what excuse do you have? And I think that's the biggest thing. Logan's Logan's vocally doing better and better with that, but he's one of those guys he truly has led by the way he lives his life. And everyone in the locker room respects Logan. I would be shocked if Logan wasn't one of our captains this fall, voted by our players, because everyone sees who he is on a day-to-day basis. And you have a guy like Logan, I think him and Hibner are roommates now, and like we got a lot of like-minded guys in the building who are focused on being really, really good football players, but also being great students and great in the community.
Savon Bird, left tackle, I mean, he stepped in and really settled that position down, had some really good games. You know, Donovan Ezraku held without a sack. Obviously, the end of the season is what people are going to focus on, but he's a really solid option there at left tackle for you guys. And then you also have Zion Nelson, you got Draymond Odoms. Where's that position kind of stand?
And you also have Andrew Chambley. Like that's another guy who, and really the motivate, going back, I'll talk to about Savon, but the motivation with Chambley at right tackle has been, he feels really, really comfortable already at left tackle. We're just trying to balance him out.
Okay.
So our thought with him is, okay, let's put Andrew in a place to where if I have to put him in a game at left or right tackle, now he feels comfortable on both sides. I know he feels really comfortable at left side, so let's even out his body and even out his reps. I think people just assume you can play left side and right side and it's easy. Well, there's some differences between staggering your left foot and staggering your right foot and the comfort that happens there. And some people are really smooth with it. Some people are dominant one side or the other. And Andrew's not bad either way, but we felt like we needed to balance him out, and now that gives him flexibility to play on either side. So he's a guy that would factor into that. But really, really proud of Savon from a standpoint of, and again, we referenced a couple of those other transfers. Savon, where he's at now compared to when he came in, is a different person. And he's a guy that is much more responsible, has a better day-to-day life and how he functions and does some things. And you're seeing that show up in the weight room. You're seeing it show up with his consistency on the field. He's mentally locked in on what we're doing. And, yeah, I mean, the Savon is one of those guys. He's one of my favorite players to coach because there's an element to him that I don't always know what he's going to do, and he keeps me on my toes. But I love him. I love him as a person. Love him as a player. He's got a good heart, and he's a guy that, again, I expect him to be better this year than last year. I mean, you look at the beginning of the last season, we didn't really know where or how to fit some of those guys in, and you saw Savon play really a lot of September. He was at guard, and he was on both sides of the ball at guard. Didn't start the Nevada game for academic reasons. So there's a lot of things that you saw that just weren't quite in place or settled with Savon, and I think October on, we were able to settle him out a little bit, and we actually put him at his high school position. And a lot of people may say he's a guard. I think Savion's a lot like PJ. I think he can play a lot of different positions. It just happened to be we felt like we were a little bit more guard heavy, and Savon could do whatever we asked him to do, and he's a football player. And so he went out there, and again, same thing. I'm expecting a big year from Savon. And then you throw a guy like Zion Nelson into the fold. If Zion's healthy, he'll give Savon a run for his money, because Zion, when he was healthy, was really, really good. Now that's a big if. We got to get Zion healthy, but I think between Savon, Zion, Chambley, and even Draymond, I think those are four guys that all, one of them individually or a combination of, I think will be all right at the left tackle position.
You mentioned Draymond, him, Abel have made it to campus. What are the early impressions that you've gotten from Grizz, and you've now been able to really see them in this environment work out?
Yeah, I think. Well, I know you want each recruiting class to be a little bit better, and as a recruiter, you always want to try and recruit the same or better than what you already have on the team, and which is making it harder and harder to recruit right now, because I feel like we got some good players in house. But I think we've done that with Draymond and Abel. We've got two guys in the building that physically are pretty close to being ready right now. Athletically are both guys. I mean, you see Abel walk around Abel's 350 pounds, and you would have no clue he's 350 pounds. Draymond's 310 pounds and runs agility cones and stuff like he's a DB. Like, so they've got to learn. There's a growing curve. I think sometimes fans and they see the stats and the recruitment and all that, and they say, "Oh wow, how come that guy's not starting? How come that guy's not playing?" There's some mental aspect to it, from just learning comfort, getting up to the speed of the game. Also, maybe there's not as much of a need year one, because we talk about Zion, Savon, Chambley, those guys all were four-star guys too out of high school, and they're 4 years older. So I don't think there's this pressing need for those guys, which in my opinion is actually better for their development and better for their growth, because now they don't have the pressure that they have to be the guy. Now, if they come in and kill it and they're the guy, and then we're going to play them, but I just think we also have to temper expectations and let those guys develop how they want to develop. They both, as long as they stay humble and work and do the things they're supposed to do, they both will be big-time football players here. And they have a chance to be two of the better ones we've ever had, just athletically and what they've done. We'll just see how their development goes. I'm excited to see when we actually have real contact and put those guys in football drills, how they react. But they're both competitive. The thing they both have too is they don't have a fear from a standpoint. They're not necessarily intimidated by older guys or any of those type things. So Abel loves football. You put a football here and he'll throw it and play it like that's who he is. So we're really excited about both those guys, and they both fit in with the room pretty well already.
And with your group, you've got a lot of guys who have now kind of been here for a minute. Grant Reuter, Alex Woods, King Large, a couple others I'm sure that I'm leaving off. How's the development of those guys going? Obviously trying to push guys, but
yeah, I think, like I said, I think the floor is rising. I mean, you talk about Graham and King and those guys. Those guys 2 years ago would be 6th, 7th guys, like deep in the mix of what we're doing now. Again, we're almost stockpiled a little bit, and they're log jammed a little bit as far as waiting their turn. But they're all those guys are progressing. They're all better versions of themselves. A guy that's just quietly went on the radar and has gotten a lot better is Nate Anderson. Nate Anderson's a guy who's been here a couple of years. Nate's got a good shot of being our starting right guard. So Nate Anderson, Josh Bates. Like, I know Josh is a transfer we got here. Again, you go King and Graham and Sione, Mao, like Paris Patterson. Like, there's some bodies in there that make you feel pretty good about where we're at, and we just got to figure out the right combination, figure out how we want to do it. I think that's the biggest challenge we have going into the year is also how do you keep our job first and foremost to win games, but you also got to plan for the longevity of a season. I think there's something to, if I'm a backup player and I'm not starting, but I know that there's a possibility I'm going to play some snaps on Saturday, we're going to have a lot better quality practice in a week. And even if that guy's getting 10 snaps, he's going to be more focused when we're meeting. He's locked in on what we're doing. And now that just makes the room get that much better. And if you do have injuries, no one even bats an eye when you have that. So that's the biggest challenge I'm going to have, is figuring out what is that combination, what is that 5, and then what are the rotations, and what do we want to look at, and how do we want to try and blend guys in. And I wish I knew the answer to that fully. I don't. That's why we practice. But we have ideas in mind. We think there's some different combinations we can win with and have a lot of success with.
I was going to ask you, last year, obviously you go to Nevada, a lot of changes after that game, and just kind of the early season, finding yourself as a unit came to be. How much did you guys take away from that kind of experience? And I'm sure it's happened before, or different places or different moments, but that Baylor game is a big
I know.
one
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we don't want to have what happened last year happen again, to where we should lose versus Nevada, lost versus BYU, until you kind of figure out, okay, this is who we are, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
The problem was last year is we had Andrew Chambley got injured the 4th day of practice. We were anticipating him being a tackle. Savon had a horrendous 3-day stretch at tackle where we're like, I don't know if this guy can do it. And so then you panic and reshuffle. And so like, we also need to have a good August camp. We need to have a good August camp. Guys need to stay healthy. Guys need to give themselves the best chance to compete so we can get the best evaluations. And if we can do that, then it'll make it easier for us to put the right guys on the field, because we'll be able to get a true view of all of those guys as far as how they do it. But yeah, that's the challenge. That's what we've got to figure out. But we don't want to be playing musical chairs in the middle of September when we got a big time non-conference game coming here the second week.
Well, this has been a blast, but I do want to ask you the last question. Having Kevin back there, he can do so many things. He can escape. Off schedule. What's that like for your offensive lineman to kind of? It takes a minute to really learn where he could be.
Yeah, you know what? And I would say this. So in the pocket, Preston was probably a lot more unpredictable than Kevin from a standpoint. Preston, he scrambled to continue to throw. Whereas Kevin will sometimes do that. He'll scramble out, but Kevin is in the pocket, it's there, throws it, or in the pocket, it's there, see you. Yeah. The thing that both those guys have allowed us to do protection-wise, we're pretty aggressive as far as how we set guys. Our thought process on that is we want to make as firm of a pocket as we can so he can see down the field. And also, if we whiff and miss, that's that much more space for him to make the guy miss. So we're pretty aggressive as far as how we set stuff. But Kevin's a guy that he makes you look a lot better than what your sack numbers are. And I think you always talk about sack numbers is if you have way too many sacks as a team, the O-line gets way too much blame for that. If you don't have that many sacks given up, the O-line gets way too much credit for that. It's a team number. So Kevin definitely helps with that team number. I mean, you talk about Ezeraku from Boston College. He clearly had a sack one time, and Kevin just made him miss and was able to go around him. So he definitely is a guy that I know our guys have a lot of comfort level in, our guys have a lot of belief in, and we're really excited to see this season this year.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking a lot of time with us.
Of course.
And spending some time on the Pony Express podcast.
Anytime, Billy. All right.